You may have noticed there's a lot of division in the world right now, and I was particularly upset about it a few days ago. There's just such a great divide, or so it seems, and I didn't know what to do with these feelings. I felt sad, I felt a little bit scared, I felt a little bit angry. So I journaled about it to get all of my thoughts on paper and out of my head. So what I'd like to do is share with you what I journaled, and I may interject with some thoughts as I'm rereading what I wrote. But it's my thoughts on why we're having all this division and how to move away from division and to solutions. So I'll start reading now. And this was journaled on June 25th, 2022. There is a great division in this country, that is clear. How did we get here? And we can't blame one person. Pick your side, if there is a side. Largely, one person being blamed on either side of, say, a political issue, that's really simplifying some pretty complicated issues. This division was fostered long before the most recent presidential races and anything else going on in the world right now. And I use the word fostered intentionally. Politics have become about winning at all costs, not about the people's welfare. The rhetoric is venomous from both parties, when the truth is that neither party, in my opinion, truly gives a crap about us. And that's my feeling. And I don't mean everyone at every level of government, but the ones that get the most exposure, I really have to question if this is about us. The rich are getting richer at likely your expense. The divide has widened. Neither party has done anything meaningful to change this. There is ample evidence of toxins in our water, our food, our air, and our medicines. Yet it continues unheeded. And both parties are trying to control you in some way. So, I just encourage you to just consider that for a moment. We have been pitted against each other. Please think about that. Spin is everywhere. Propaganda everywhere. Cancel culture abounds. There's no forgiveness, no second chances. We're being, whether you know it or not, we're being programmed in our news, our TV shows, our video games, our movies. It's desensitized us to violence, to sexism, to racism, take your pick. And being told, what is the right way? There's so much information being thrown at us that sometimes we forget to think for ourselves and think about, well, what do I think about that, rather than an opinion piece or a journalist piece, which I know is intended to be factual, but it's often has some opinion in it, especially if you read a headline. It can be inflammatory. We are being persuaded to pick a side. In truth, there are no sides. The other side is your neighbor, your friend, your family member. We have all been persuaded by our own experiences and the messaging we have received. It's time to love each other in spite of our differences, to not make assumptions and automatically assume someone's an asshole because they think a certain way. We have all been brainwashed to a certain extent that there is a savior outside of ourselves, and that person or thing has the right answer. You make your life experience. You decide how to live your life. We all have made mistakes and gone astray. I'm not condoning harmful behavior in any way, or abuse, anything like that. I'm not saying stay in a bad situation. I'm saying hate and finger pointing isn't working. It isn't creating the energy that will fuel a loving, peaceful world. If you are triggered by something someone says or you hear, I encourage you to pause and get curious versus immediately reacting. Ask sincere questions to understand, or just walk away, especially if you're in a triggered state. We usually say things that we can regret. But please don't create more hate. It's getting us nowhere. We assume that our news is the correct one, the factual one. How do you truly know anymore? I encourage you to get quiet and ask for the truth, and that's truth with a capital T. The truth with a capital T is inside you. Truth doesn't send you into a tizzy. Truth comforts. Get quiet. Get clear. Then take action. Vote with your conscience. Take peaceful action, please. But please don't spew anger and judgment at others. Please don't make assumptions about anyone, or really anything. I mean, sometimes we don't know when something, quote unquote, looks bad to us. We don't know where it's going. Have you ever, either yourself or heard about somebody losing their job and it seemed terrible, and it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to them because they got a better job that they loved, or it was the perfect timing because they needed that time to take care of a family member? Please don't make assumptions about anyone. It's not helping. You must find peace within yourself to see it in the world. You must have love in your heart to receive it. Vent, cry, yell, get it out, but please don't claim a side. I'm sorry, but the two sides that have been manufactured are bullshit. And it's locked us into fixed notions rather than being open to solutions or compromise. Can you imagine if we demanded that politicians compromise and not use such violent words about each other? Like, what could we create? And again, I want to say it's not all politicians. I have friends that are local politicians. I'm talking about the ones that do this, and it's usually the ones that have a big platform. Now, there may be some, smaller platforms that are copycatting, but I'm not talking about everyone. They rile up people in anger, and they exaggerate or minimize issues to suit their point. If you are triggered by a headline or a statement that involves proposed legislation, here's my recommendation. I encourage you to read the bill itself. First, get away from it, and then come back to the bill itself. Try to come at it with an open mind. Like, how would I think about this myself if I read this bill without this, other information? And think about what your true reaction and opinion might be without that outside journalist, talking head, politician, whatever it may be. What do you think? And I have to reiterate, if you're fully 100% aligned with one party, you are being controlled in some way. We have two shit options, even if you like one better than the other. I implore you to raise your expectations of leadership. Write your legislators. Create dialogue, but please use nonviolent words. please come in good faith and try to put your ego aside. We do not need to accept these two crap options, where everyone needs to follow party lines or they're out or they're ostracized. That's very, very limiting. There are solutions to be had by working together, not by finger pointing. It starts with the individual, and when you shift yourself, it shifts the collective. One by one, little by little, and then we hit a breaking point and there's an avalanche. If you really feel you can't make a difference, just try an experiment. Maybe you call a friend and let them know you care about them, or strike up conversation with a stranger. Maybe someone that you have judgment about, but come at it with an open mind. Be open to being pleasantly surprised. I get it. A lot of us are scared, and many for different reasons. Many for completely opposite reasons. But know that fear and anger, and those stoking the fear and anger, will send us down a restrictive, contractive path. We need expansion to get out of this. We need love. We need openness and risk-taking to make any kind of dent in this mess. It may sound trite, but love really is the answer. It starts with me. It starts with you. You are a sovereign being. You choose and create your experience, regardless of your circumstances. You are never stuck, but you must make a choice to change it somehow. And that's when the getting quiet can come in really handy, or talking to a professional like me or someone that you trust. And change it. Make a different choice and have a different experience. As my motorcycling friends know, look where you want to go. If you look at the ditch, you're going to end up in the ditch. Use your anger and fear to help direct you to what you don't want. Direct you away from what you don't want, and understand you want the opposite in some way. Let it be your guidepost and start walking in the direction of your desires. When you get down to it, we all want the same things: health, well-being, and prosperity for ourselves, our loved ones, our neighbors, the world. Let's walk towards that. And I'd like to read a passage from the Essential Ernest Holmes. I'm in a class called Essential Ernest Holmes right now, and Ernest Holmes was a philosopher who really is the father of science of mind, and some of his inspiration came from Ralph Waldo Emerson, Mary Baker Eddy, and this was back, at the turn of the 20th century, 19th to 20th century. He was a guy that stood for oneness, desegregation, women's rights, back when it was very unpopular. Okay, so from this book, page 26, we must learn to live by inspiration. That means that we should let the spiritual depths of our being flow through our conversation and into our acts. Living by inspiration does not mean living chaotically. Our whole purpose is to make the intellect an instrument for the spirit. This is exactly what the artist does. We must all become artists in living. To live by inspiration means to sense the divine touch in everything, to enter into the spirit of things, to enter into the joy of living. In our ignorance, we may try to find our center outside the self. This can never be. The ancients said that God's center is everywhere, and his circumference nowhere. We are like the upward thrust of a wave. We look about, seeing other waves, apparently disassociated from us, but underneath is the one ocean, pushing all the waves upward. There's one mover in every movement, one undulating passion for self-expression, which he means God. And if the word God triggers you, the universe, your higher self, whatever life, whatever works for you, it is quite clear to me there is a force working for us if we choose to allow it. Rumi had a quote, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was something like, there is a field beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there. And I really like that. And I really am working very hard to remember that, you know, as certain conversations come up, or if someone says something I don't agree with, I'm working to allow people to be where they are. This feels like a good time to tell you about a workshop that I'm offering July 30th. It's called Getting to the Matter of the Heart, Getting to the Matter of the Heart. And it's a heart-opening workshop, you know, looking at healing the heart and allowing it to open and expand and move away from fear and towards love. And I'll talk about some of these concepts, but many others. It's going to be at Susanna Farms in Lake Villa, Illinois, my hometown. And that's in Northeast Illinois, Lake County, if you're familiar with the area. I'll likely be offering these same workshops online eventually. I'm in Wisconsin. I like doing stuff in person in the summer because I like getting out. Probably in the winter, or when the weather is less nice, I will be offering more online options. But if you're interested in that, you can go to livelifespiritual.com, click on workshops, and there's more information there. And again, I will just, I really want to spread this message of unity. So if you could like, subscribe, share this, I really believe we can do this. And it's not going to happen overnight, but I really believe we can move towards unity, towards love, towards peace. And we all have a part to play in it.